Croque Madame is a breakfast masterpiece because lying just beneath the simple looking surface is a ton of technique and skill. At the end of the day, it's a ham and cheese sandwich, but it's a ham and cheese sandwich topped with a luscious Mornay, and I think that makes it pretty special. Welcome back to my ongoing series where I teach recipes starting from the easiest, working my way up to multi-step intensive showstoppers. If you're not feeling super confident in the kitchen, consider this your invitation to really take up your spatula and join me. The right Croque Madame has a balance between the salty ham, the crunchy bread, the nutty cheese, and the tangy mustard. The creamy Mornay coats the entire thing and brings it all together. Oh, and we can't forget about that beautiful runny egg. We'll tackle each of these components and the role that they play separately. Equipment-wise, we'll need a pan for frying and a lid, a spatula, a bread knife, a whisk, a cheese grater, a pot, something to bake on, a few bowls of course, and a scale. You'll see why in a minute. For our bread, choose a hearty rustic bread with a well-formed crust. I like this como bread from a local bakery. It's similar to a country loaf. Thickness is totally up to you, but I would say make it manageable. This is a knife and fork sandwich, but you don't want massive hunks of bread on either sides. Now onto the ham, and boy do I have some opinions on this. Anything sweet is going to throw off the balance, so avoid that completely. I think the smokier and saltier the better here, but pick something you like. Ask the deli to go one step above shaving for this, like a 1 at the counter. This gives you super tender ham that isn't just shaving and falling apart. The amount is sort of up to you. It's a sandwich, so build it how you like, but I'm a fan of about 80 grams or so. That's usually 3 to 4 slices of ham. In recent videos, I've given measurements in ounces or tablespoons, but honestly, that's not how I like to cook. I always keep a scale around because I find I just prefer weighing everything over trying to work with ounces or cups. If you're serious about getting better at cooking, which if you're here, you probably are, it's probably time to switch to a metric scale. I promise this switch won't be as bad and you'll be happy you did it. Dijon is the perfect sharp mustardy flavor that we need to cut through the richness, so be sure to keep a couple tablespoons around. The true hallmark of a good Croque Madame is the lusciously creamy sauce that covers the entire sandwich. The sauce is an iteration on a bechamel, a classic French mother sauce. These are those classic sauces that can be used as a base for a lot of other things. In our case, I like to add the cheese into the sauce to create a Mornay. For our Mornay, we need butter, flour, milk, some comte cheese, which is my preference over Gruyere for this, and then some seasonings like nutmeg and bay leaf. In a pot over medium-low heat, add 25 grams of butter and 25 grams of all-purpose flour. Cook this on medium-low while stirring until the flour has cooked into a slightly golden blonde color. Cooking flour in fat like this creates a roux. Basically, the flour granules will be coated in the fat so they don't clump up when we add the liquid. The longer you cook it, the darker and more flavorful it will become, but the less it will thicken a sauce. A light roux has much more thickening power than something like a dark chocolate roux used in gumbo. Now with our blonde roux created, stir in 250 ml of milk, a little at a time. Adding the cold milk into the roux creates a thick paste, so I like to mix it in until it's smooth before adding more. Once the milk is in, continue mixing this and let it come up to a simmer. The simmering is our signpost that we've done our job and that the thickening will occur. Season this with salt, pepper. Classically, this would have some fresh grated nutmeg. This is all I've got right now, and a bay leaf. That's how we create a bechamel, and it's a perfect skill to learn. You can use this to make sausage gravy. You could put this in a lasagna. There's a ton of different reasons to use a bechamel. Transforming this into a Mornay is as simple as adding 25 grams of grated comte cheese. Stir this in until all the cheese has melted, but don't overheat this or the emulsion will split and you'll see the fat from the cheese start to break out. We learned all about emulsions in the process of making that from our Caesar video. The flour is our emulsifying aid in this occasion, just as the egg yolk and garlic were in the case of our Caesar dressing. Taste this for seasoning and let this stay warm on the stove while we fry up our sandwich. If the heat of your stove is causing this to thicken past the point you'd like it, simply add in a little splash of fresh milk. Building the sandwich is super simple. On each slice of bread, smear a thin layer of Dijon mustard. Add your ham on top of one side and spoon on a little bit of your Mornay to the ham. Don't close it yet. We can cook this twice as fast by putting both halves in the pan. In our skillet over medium heat, drop in a knob of butter and then place both of those halves to get nice and beautifully browned in that butter. Let these pieces brown up and then place your side without the ham on top of the side with the ham. Add more butter to the pan and flip it as needed so that both sides are dark and golden and perfectly crunchy. Remove your sandwich from the pan once it's browned and set it on an oven-safe tray. For your next step, turn the oven to broil and turn your heat in the skillets to medium-low. We're gonna use that same pan for the egg. With our sandwich on the tray and our oven ready to broil, we can pour on that glorious Mornay that we made. This makes enough for 2 sandwiches, so just keep that in mind. Slide this into the oven at the top rack and watch it like a hawk. While moving the camera, mine actually got a little bit too dark. The broiler cooks so fast, so it's best to keep an eye out for any potential burning. The Mornay should be bubbly and brown by the time it's ready to come out. Roughly like 1 minute, maybe less, depending on how hot your broiler gets. Remove this from the oven and we can work on the final touch, the beautiful runny egg. For a perfectly sunny side up, use the same pan over medium-low with a touch of butter. The egg can be cracked into the gently melting butter and season it with salt and pepper. Cover the pan with a lid, because if you cover it, you end up with barely any of that snotty white, which I don't really like in my egg. You're still gonna have that beautiful runny yolk though. With the lid and a medium-low flame, this egg needs exactly 2 minutes to finish. Slide that beautifully cooked egg onto your sandwich and get ready to feast on the absolute best ham and cheese sandwich you could imagine. A little trick to make any dish look nicer is by using chives. Thinly slice them and then place them on top of any pale dish to create a nice green contrast. In my opinion, this is kind of the modern version of placing parsley stems on the plate. This sandwich sings in its simplicity and its balance. It's crunchy, it's savory, it's salty, it's tangy, it's nutty. It is deliciously luxurious. From that Mornay that we made, we get everything that we need to make a really, really exciting breakfast. And now you know how to make one of the 5 mother sauces. You're gonna be really, really happy when you make this, because it's gonna feel like you're eating at like a 5-star restaurant. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you want a recipe that I consider to be a little bit easier, check out last week's recipe on pad kee mao. If you're looking for something a little bit harder, stick around and subscribe. Next week, there's gonna be another video with a little more technique in it. I wanna give a massive shout out to the amazing people supporting me directly on Patreon through patreon.com/CameronMarty. They get some cool benefits for supporting, and I get to keep the lights on. Thank you so much again for watching. Cheers.